pitch, do you add the resolution of the story?
It helps.
So you should put that in the pitch.
If you have a nice, interesting, surprising resolution, yeah. I would say, for instance, if you were pitching The Trouble with Tribbles, you would say that the punchline is the Tribbles are how Kirk identifies the Klingon spy. I mean, don't leave it as a mystery for the producer to guess. You really want them to know how you're going to solve the problem.
Great, thanks.
Well, I have a question that's unfortunately probably not relevant to a lot of the people in this room. I'm a documentary filmmaker. And so when you're talking about making a pitch to investors and following up on the question that you just answered, what is the resolution?
What's the point you're making in your documentary? So if you're doing a documentary on the spread of kudzu across the South, what's the point you want the audience to take away from your documentary?
Okay.
So, for instance, you may say kudzu could be a great source for biofuel, which I've heard it could be. So you say, hey, here's the problem. Kudzu has covered up your car while you're watching the movie. And here's the resolution. So you give them hope. Or no hope. Or there's no hope. Eventually the entire world will be covered with kudzu. A point at the end. You don't just want to say, so here's kudzu. Okay?
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Hi, Shelby.
Hi, David, thank you. I'm wondering how much development would you put into a script before you try to pitch it? Do you go in with the idea that it's a fully contained work, or do you go in with the idea that somebody's going to rewrite it anyway?
It depends on the market. But I would write the script, excuse me, I would write the script for the movie the way I see it. Don't over-direct. The director's going to call the camera angles himself. But, you know, if you say, you might want to say, close angle on so-and-so's reaction, that's okay. But generally, you want to write the master shots. You don't want to write a shot-for-shot script, because the director will block it out. Unless, of course, you're planning to direct. But I tend to call a lot of shots when I want to call attention to a specific thing. But if you know you're going into a situation where you're going to be rewritten, then just do your masters and dialogue and descriptions. But in general, my rule of thumb is to write as complete a script as I can, because I don't want to be rewritten. I want to get all the credit myself. So in general, I would say write as complete a script as you can.
Hi, is there anything that you see writers do that screenwriters do that you think is a waste of time, that people like spend a lot of time on and it doesn't do them any good at all?
Too much talk.
Too much dialogue, you mean?
Too much dialogue, yeah. And unnecessary scenes. You could write this down on a card and paste it to your computer that would say, is this line absolutely necessary, or could we cut it? And if you approach every single sentence in your script that way, you'll get a very tight, very filmable script. I mean, and you know, there's a line you've probably heard it: "Kill your children," which is all your most favorite parts. The stuff that, I really want to keep that. That's one of my most favorite parts. That's probably one of the things you might look the artist at. Should I cut this?
Hey there. In terms of the whole business process, the pitch, like in business, the escalator pitch or elevator pitch gets us, it piques interest and gets us an appointment to maybe show the rest of our stuff. In the film business, what do I need to have? Do I need to have a finished script in my back pocket and a lot more before I even decide to give somebody the pitch? Or
it depends on who you're speaking to. I have 2 or 3 finished scripts, and those are good to show around to companies that are looking for, you have a vampire script? Great. Okay, we'll read your vampire script and your space script, but we're not interested in reading your teen comedy script. We already have one. On the other hand, you should also have, if you're doing spec scripts, you should have complete scripts. Or at least, at the very least, a fully detailed treatment. A treatment, I'll leave James to explain to you what a treatment is, but a treatment is a very, very detailed outline, which essentially explains almost line for line what's going to happen in the script.
You've touched very nicely on some aspects, a few aspects of dialogue. What are the really bad screw-ups that you can do with dialogue, and how do you avoid them?
George?
Yes, sir.
Be careful.
Yes.
That's one of them. Out of the womb to do something dangerous, and somebody says, George, the person turns around, be careful. Yes, of course, be careful. Line of dialogue. So, when you are writing, and this is true, the more you write, the more you will discover your own bad habits. But, oh, I wrote that sentence before. Can I get away with writing it again? No, you can't. Oh, somebody else wrote this sentence before. Can I get away with writing it? No, you can't. So your characters don't ever have anybody say, I have a bad feeling about this. Now, what you can do is, and this works best if you're being a little bit lighthearted in your writing. It does not work in a serious drama. But I did this in a Ghostbusters script, the Saturday morning show, where they're about to go to this house they know is haunted, and somebody says, does anybody have a bad feeling about this? No, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. So I like the show, instead of I have a bad feeling about this, does anybody have a bad feeling? No, I don't have a bad feeling. I'm good. So you can turn the joke around. So if you find yourself coming up against that hackneyed, cliched line of dialogue, and almost all lines of dialogue have been used before, find a way to turn it inside out. Find a way to turn it around. So always do the opposite of what seems to be obvious. And a great example is read any script by Oscar Wilde, where he would take these wonderful, nice, little old English characters, sweet little genteel English characters, and the most amazing things would come out of their mouth because the end of the sentence wouldn't match where you thought it was going at the beginning.
David, thank you so much for being with us today. Would everybody give David a round? I'm sorry, what was that?
I said thank you, people, for good questions. Very smart, intelligent questions. You guys look like a great group.
Thank you, David. We'll talk to you soon.
Oh, and thank my assistant. This is how we got all these questions answered.